Hey guys, welcome to the Bulwark. I'm Sam Stein, managing editor here at the site. I'm joined by Tim Miller. We are going to talk about something that's mostly really serious, but it kind of dives into some levels of absurdity that make it humorous, I suppose. Uh, the recovery efforts from Hurricane Helene, obviously a horrific tragedy, 200 plus casualties, damage akin to what happened with Hurricane Katrina. What we're going to be talking about today, though, is the rampant disinformation campaign that is happening right now, a politicized disinformation campaign around FEMA's efforts to help with the survivors. The reasons we are doing this is that it's really exploded today, like just completely exploded. To the point where FEMA itself had to put out a fact sheet trying to push back against the flood of disinformation that's out there. And that the White House itself also had to put out a memo saying, no, these rumors that you're seeing are not true. Before we get into the actual specifics of this, Tim, I know you talked about this a bit on the podcast with John Dickerson, but I'm just sort of curious. You were the one who initially brought this to my attention, and then I started looking at it. I was kind of amazed by it. But like, what do you make of what's going on here?
Yeah, I brought to your attention because I suffer in the MAGA fever swamps on social media for everybody.
You really do.
I really
I'm a
do. I
little
can't
worried,
help myself. I can't help myself. And I've actually freed up since Bannon went to jail. I've had a little bit of free time to kind of explore different nooks and crannies of the fever swamps because I used to kind of have my weekly appointment with Bannon was how I kind of keep up to speed. But the podcast his podcast has really suffered since he went to jail.
That's like when the chief drug lord like gets taken out, and then suddenly you have like a bunch of people peddling drugs that are just much worse for you.
On the street corner.
Like,
The blue stuff is out there.
Poison,
The fentanyl lace stuff is out there. Anyway, well, just really quick on the very serious part of this. Because there is real damage being done now because people, like regular people, are being confused and thinking that that FEMA isn't responding to them, that they can't get access to the money or assistance they need, so they're trying to go to non-government sources. And there are the Baptist Church, the Cajun Navy, there are other people doing good work, but still, if people are not getting the help that they need because they're being fed wrong information, like that is bad and has a negative tangible impact that is beyond the political impact. In addition, we can talk about that more. But in addition, what jumped out to me was just how kind of widespread just this on the MAGA political side, it had become just advancing these images that are obviously AI of Trump wading through the water. My husband, this actually, you said it really first came to my attention through my husband, who was on Facebook, who texted me a Facebook photo of his friend from high school who posted this image on Facebook of Trump wading through the water. It's not the one you sent me. We'll get to the one you sent me later. And it didn't look realistic, but it looks not totally
close
unrealistic. And they posted it earnestly with a why isn't the media covering this, covering Donald Trump? So that shows you how far it had already filtered, that this is just a random person on Facebook. And then I started kind of going to the accounts that I monitor, and huge accounts including Senator Mike Lee, Stephen Miller, Clay Travis, who I love to hate, at Outkick the Coverage, went to college with me, and has gone full MAGA red pill. And then the obviously crazy people like Laura Loomer and folks that are deeper into the conspiracy swamps. They're all posting pictures, AI pictures. One is of a little girl holding a doggy that is not real. And then there's a series of other kind of things, all kind of leveling up to this point that Biden is abandoning red America. The FEMA is abandoning red America because that's where a lot of the worst happened. I mean, obviously Asheville maybe was hit really the worst, which is blue, but these other rural areas. And it's it's seemingly just based on nothing. I mean, there are a couple of little nuggets of things that it's based on, which we can talk about, but it's a self-fulfilling prophecy. It's Biden hates us, so he must be abandoning us. Government's terrible. And so any little piece of information, real, unreal, exaggerated, literally fake AI, people are sharing. And it's going far and wide.
Well, what's interesting about this is that there's kind of two types of disinformation. There's the entirely manufactured generated AI and disinformation, which is basically taking something that doesn't exist and saying, oh no, this is real. Why is the media not covering this? And that's the pictures that you're talking about. And then there's a sort of more traditional disinformation, which is just starting rumors about agencies, not creating images, but like just making up stuff. And maybe some of it has like a tiny kernel of truth, but then, threading in a bunch of larger lies on it. So I'm just going to go through some of this stuff. And I guess this is almost like public service. I mean, I don't know how many people in Western Carolina are watching this, probably not. But, it's worthwhile to get this out there. So among things, one, this is the big one. FEMA does not have enough money to provide disaster assistance for the hurricane. That's just not true. They have the money. They do. Two, FEMA is asking for cash donations and turning away volunteers. Again, completely false. This one is the one that's been making the rounds in the MAGA sphere, which is FEMA is diverting funds meant to support hurricane recovery efforts in order to support border-related issues and to help migrants. I've seen this nonstop. Like, it is everywhere. That basically, because FEMA is helping with migrants, they can't help with hurricane recovery. Those are two different buckets of funds. Those are completely different buckets of funds. And the funds that are there to help migrants, that was actually passed by Congress, right? Like, lawmakers passed that money. This is not an executive action. Then it gets a little bit more surreal. Like, there's another rumor going around. FEMA is confiscating donations for survivors. That's bizarro.
And confiscating supplies, another one.
Confiscating supplies too. This one actually, that last one, I was talking to an administration official earlier today about this. And this is why they put out that memo, was in part because of this one. They said that there's a huge amount of people that they've heard from on the ground who believe that FEMA is stealing from people, just stealing from people. And obviously, the impact of that rumor is pretty bad, right? Like, if you believe FEMA's coming to steal your stuff and you're already in a bad spot mentally and physically, like, who knows what happens there. So the last one is, and this is where I think we could probably play the Laura Ingraham clip from Fox after I talk about this, because this one's been on Fox News a lot. FEMA will only provide $750 to disaster survivors to support the recovery. It's false. We could play the clip now.
6 days after the lights went out and the floodwaters rose in Georgia, she did finally do a drop-by.
Federal relief and assistance that we have been providing has included FEMA providing $750 for folks who need immediate needs being met, such as food, baby formula, and the like.
Imagine losing your house, your transportation, basic necessities, and women looking for diapers. Earlier today, I was watching. Most stores, by the way, in the area are wiped out. And all you're getting right now is a $750 check she referenced from the federal government. The government you've been sending taxes to for your entire life. And where are they going to buy that baby food, Kamala?
The reason that they do that, that they pay the $750, is that you can get a quick infusion of cash right up, rather than having to go through the bureaucratic paperwork, to help you just get by in like the early days.
Basic supplies.
Yeah, and Harris was on the ground talking about it. They cut off her comments to make it seem like that was the totality of what she said. So
I have one more actually that was just sent to me. That again, it's not as crazy, but it is widespread enough that the Republican State House Speaker in North Carolina had to push back on it. Apparently, in around North Carolina, there are people saying that in town meetings, there was a town meeting somewhere where they were told that people no longer own their homes. They have to vacate immediately. What? And if they stay, they will be arrested. Again, like total insane nonsense. But like, I guess this like rumor is spreading that this town meeting happened somewhere in Western North Carolina, and the Republican State House Speaker had to knock it down.
So how do you deal with this stuff? I mean, like, obviously putting out fact sheets are great, like fantastic. No one's going to FEMA.gov, right? Like, come on. Like, this stuff is traveling across the globe before FEMA's putting out a a fact sheet, and that fact sheet's never going to touch nearly as many people as those memes in the AI generated picture. So like, how the fuck do you deal with this stuff?
Yeah, I mean, so there's two parts to it. One is the actual response. Like, people need to get information side of this,
Right.
as opposed to the political. Right, like responding to that includes what the White House and FEMA is doing. Local news is going to do this. Local news is dying, but this is a moment where hopefully most people are at least checking in with their local radio and TV stations to like get information. So hopefully they are correcting what is out there. Like, local TV stations might think to themselves, "Oh, we're not going to cover this because it's so crazy." Like, if the White House and FEMA is putting out statements, they're like, "Okay, well, I can cover it now in that context," so people know. They should probably be engaging with influencers and stuff too. I mean, this is kind of sad to say, I guess, in this world,
that's
but
so
like,
ridiculous.
it is ridiculous, right? But like, at least FEMA having like people out there promoting this stuff so that like trickles down via social media feeds. Like, here's what is true. Here's how you can get your 750. That doesn't mean that's not all you're going to get. Like, here are your rights. Like, you just do have to do that and do it in ways that is spreadable on social media. Then there's the disinformation side of it that is like political. That's like not really the White House and FEMA's job, which is, to your point, and the Laura Ingraham thing and others, was this like, the money is being stolen. And Trump said this. This is what I talked about with Dickerson today on the podcast, that this money is being stolen. Trump says, like a bank robber from FEMA, where it should be going to good Americans and being given instead to illegal immigrants that they want to vote. I mean, it's just a total fabricated lie. And to me, I think the political side of this is, we'll see what the Harris-Walz campaign does, but my advice at this point is it's gotten so out of control that they need to go on offense on this and really try to shame Donald Trump about it and get through to people. And like, this is too serious.
Trump is scaring people?
Yeah, this is too serious. People that are being punished. Like, Donald Trump only cares about himself. It goes to their core message. Like he says he cares about you and the forgotten man, but he doesn't. He only cares about himself. He's lying about you. We're trying to solve problems. There are Republican elected officials in these states that we are working with that are trying to solve problems. And look at Tennessee, is all Republicans, for example. And these lies are only serving to prevent people from getting the assistance they need. So to me, that's probably what I'd be saying if I was Harris.
It's just tough, though. It's like, so for instance, like all the Republican governors, even DeSantis, though not really, have basically been like, FEMA's doing a good job. Like, they're there, they're talking to us, they're giving us what we need. But it doesn't prevent people like Trump and others, I should say, from going out there. This tweet really stuck out to me for a couple of reasons. But Dan Bishop, the congressman, says, quote, "I'm hearing from countless North Carolinians who are appalled by FEMA's response to the catastrophic damage from Helene. FEMA should be focusing on helping Americans, not illegal aliens." Again, this is basic stuff from the right. Doug High, who is a Republican operative in D.C., but he's from North Carolina, he responds, he quote tweets him, says, "Representative Virginia Fox," who is she's a conservative, right? Like she's out there. He says, "Representative Virginia Fox told me yesterday that FEMA reassured North Carolina members, of which Dan Bishop is one, twice on a call this week, that they had more than enough funds for Helene relief efforts." So as I read this, Dan Bishop was on a call with FEMA in which he was reassured that they had the resources. And then he goes on Twitter and says, "You know what? I'm hearing from a lot of North Carolinians that they're appalled by the response because FEMA's giving money to illegal immigrants." Like, how do you can't really work in that type of political system. You can't. Like, the people who are the stakeholders, who are there to reassure people and see through a calmly recovery process, are the ones responsible for the disinformation in this case.
No, and that's where that's where, politically speaking, I think you have to go on offense and shame them and attack them and say they don't want to help you. They're not trying to help you. They're trying to stir up hate. Is that going to win over 100% of people? Or their MAGA people will be turned off by that? Sure. But, there is a category of people that want basic governance. There's a reason why Josh Stein is winning by 13, 15, 16 points in that race in North Carolina for governor.
He's winning because the guy running against him, is a self
flame black Nazi and a total disaster and likes to hang out at porn shops, right? Yeah, sure. But also because people want a governor who can be a governor. Most people, not everybody. I always think back to Sarah's focus groups where there was one of these MAGA focus groups where they're asking about the governor in their state and listening to the voters talk about what they wanted from them, and then the congressional people from their state and listening to them be like, the only people who do anything are Matt Gaetz and Marjorie Taylor Greene, right? Like people have this mindset of Congress is like the thing you're supposed to do is be a firebrand, but they also still want basic functioning government. So I just think going on offense of that. I have one while we're doing tweets that jumped out to me. Yeah. This issue. I'd like to point you to Glenn Jacobs, Tennessee. From Tennessee, he's a mayor.
Okay.
You might not. Apparently, you don't know who he is. He's a mayor in Knox County, Tennessee.
That guy.
And he was once Kane. We'll put his picture up on the screen here. Kane from the WWE, who was Undertaker's brother. I cannot believe you don't remember this. The Brothers of Destruction in a tag team.
I remember Undertaker, but I didn't get that far into
you had stuck around, but
what is with you guys? What is with the Bulwark people in wrestling?
Wrestling is like amazing. What's not to love about wrestling? Kane was a huge figure in wrestling. Anyway, you'll be shocked to learn that Kane is a MAGA Republican mayor. Quite MAGA, I know. But here's something that he put out today. 2 things. FEMA, nor anyone else is confiscating supplies. Please quit spreading those rumors as they are counterproductive to response efforts. If everyone could maybe please put aside the hate for a bit and pitch in to help, that would be great. I mean, that is a MAGA mayor, wrestler, famous person, like chastising his own people. Like that's notable.
This is Trump's the snake right here, right? This is what it is.
Yeah, seriously.
It's basically people getting bitten by the thing that they let in. It's unbelievable to see. I mean, it's sad. It honestly is sad because these people, I feel for the person who's in this, whose house has been destroyed, who will refuse money from the federal government because they believe that it comes with some sort of strings or that the government's going to come confiscate their house. Like, that is a sad state of affairs. And that person's only going to suffer. And they're going to suffer because of disinformation spread by politicians that they support. So it sucks. I find this whole thing shitty.
It is really sad and it sucks. And people should get the information they need. But also, it's politics. And, it's time to, you can't just let them own the information space, unfortunately. No. You know?
Well, in that vein, I want to just end on a funnier note, I guess.
Please.
I guess this counts as information.
We could have a chuckle at the end.
Okay, this picture, the AI is working in a couple different directions. We should be clear. I mean, there's a little girl crying in the canoe with the dog, and that's sad, but it's fake. And then there's this picture, which we're going to put up, of Trump wading into the water in his blue suit, holding a paper towel. And then the caption, Facebook doesn't want us to see this. They keep deleting it, but I'm going to keep sharing. I don't know, man.
I'm just taking a look at this picture, a close look. I mean, why is he in the water in a suit? The paper towels are also interesting. It's like, we're in a pretty bad situation for paper towels. Like this situation doesn't really call for bounty. Double
it's
ply,
absorbent, but it's not that absorbent.
I also love this. I'm scrolling in there. In case you're wondering why this is AI, there's a woman holding in the near side of the picture. There's a woman holding a phone, like she's taking a picture of Trump. Like you can see the picture on the phone, and it's not Trump, right? It's like a person in a red shirt or something. So it's like this person. It's like obviously a fake thing.
Wow, Tim, really good detective work here.
Yeah, I'm just kind of staring. I was looking at for the fingers. They do have the number of fingers correct, which is always a telltale sign of AI.
But the weird part is they're all sort of standing in water unnecessarily.
They also aren't looking at him. They also aren't looking at him. The people that you would think it's like, oh my God, the former president is right here on my block, and a group has gathered, but they're looking out into the distance. Anyway,
oh man, okay, that's
the fact that this tricks people is something for another video. I don't think this one tricks
people. I think this is what we would call AI satire, but we'll leave it at that. Oh yeah, I don't think people for that one.
I think a couple
people are falling for that one. We really have lost all hope for humanity.
We may have lost all hope for humanity.
All right, we'll leave it there. Tim, thank you for joining me on this important issue. Really appreciate it. If folks do see other crazy rumors and stuff spreading around online, hit us up. Like, we want to hear what's going on out there. Maybe we can use our platform to help correct the record in some small way. I am Sam Stein. This is Tim Miller. Have a good weekend, folks, and subscribe to our YouTube channel.